Have you watched Tim Urban's TED Talk on procrastination? If you haven't, it's one of the funniest and most accurate explanations of why we keep putting things off. In the talk, Tim Urban says that inside every procrastinator's brain live three unusual characters: the rational decision maker, the instant gratification monkey, and the panic monster. The rational decision maker wants you to study, work out, build your career, or achieve your goals. But the instant gratification monkey doesn't care about your future. It only wants what's easy, fun, and rewarding right now. So instead of working, you somehow end up scrolling Instagram, watching YouTube, reorganizing your desk, or doing literally anything except the task you were supposed to do. Then there's the panic monster. Most of the time, it's asleep. But the moment a deadline is dangerously close, it wakes up, scares the monkey away, and suddenly you're capable of finishing an assignment overnight that you've been avoiding for weeks. It's a funny explanation. And that's exactly why millions of people relate to it. But Tim Urban's talk isn't just a clever story, it reflects something philosophers, spiritual traditions, neuroscientists, and psychologists have been trying to understand for thousands of years. Long before psychologists gave it a name, ancient thinkers were already asking the same question: why do intelligent people knowingly avoid doing what they know is good for them? Over 2000 years ago, the Greek philosopher Aristotle called this akrasia, acting against your own better judgment. He believed that reason knows what's right, but desire often wins. Sounds familiar? That's basically Tim Urban's instant gratification monkey, just without the cartoons. The Bhagavad Gita offers a remarkably similar lesson. Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, "You have a right to action, but not to the fruits of your actions." In other words, stop obsessing over the outcome and focus on taking action. Fear of failure and attachment to results often become the very reasons we never begin. Buddhism arrives at almost the same conclusion. It teaches that procrastination is simply the mind avoiding discomfort. Whenever a task feels difficult or stressful, the mind searches for comfort instead. The Buddha's solution wasn't to wait for motivation, it was mindfulness. Notice the thought, "I'll do it later," but don't automatically obey it. Even the Roman philosopher Seneca warned that people don't suffer because life is short, they suffer because they waste so much of it. Every unnecessary delay isn't just postponing work, it's postponing life itself. Fast forward to modern science, and researchers have reached almost exactly the same conclusion. Psychologist Piers Steel, after analyzing hundreds of studies, concluded that procrastination isn't laziness, it's a failure of self regulation. Later, psychologists Timothy Pychyl and Fuschia Sirois demonstrated that procrastination is primarily an emotion regulation problem. We don't avoid work because it's hard, we avoid the uncomfortable emotions attached to it: stress, anxiety, boredom, fear of failure, or self doubt. Neuroscience explains why. Your brain has two competing systems. The limbic system wants immediate pleasure and comfort, while the prefrontal cortex plans for the future and makes rational decisions. When a task feels unpleasant, the emotional brain usually wins, pushing you toward instant dopamine from social media, Netflix, gaming, or endless scrolling. Every time you escape an uncomfortable task, your brain feels temporary relief. That relief acts like a reward, strengthening the procrastination habit. Over time, your brain learns that avoiding discomfort feels good, even though it creates bigger problems later. This is exactly what learning expert Justin Sung warns about. He argues that modern technology has turned procrastination into something closer to a dopamine addiction. Constant notifications, reels, short videos, and endless scrolling train our brains to crave effortless rewards, making focused work feel unusually difficult. His advice is to remove distractions, reduce unnecessary digital stimulation, and strengthen attention through mindfulness meditation. Mel Robbins looks at procrastination from another angle. She says you're not a procrastinator, you simply have a procrastination habit. Every habit has a trigger, a behavior, and a reward. In procrastination, the trigger is stress, the behavior is avoidance, and the reward is temporary relief. Her famous 5-4-3-2-1 rule interrupts this habit loop. Count backward, then immediately start working for just 5 minutes. Research shows that once people begin, most continue because the mental resistance quickly fades. Research from India tells the same story. A 2021 NCERT study found that students with higher self-esteem and stronger achievement values procrastinated less. Researchers from Sambalpur University found that higher procrastination was directly linked to lower academic performance. So, if procrastination isn't laziness, how do we overcome it? The research is surprisingly consistent. Start ridiculously small. Don't promise yourself 3 hours of work. Promise yourself 5 minutes. Manage your emotions instead of waiting for motivation. Remove distractions before you begin. Create your own deadlines instead of waiting for the panic monster. Use if then plans like, if it's 7 p.m., I'll sit at my desk and study. Practice mindfulness so you notice distracting thoughts without automatically following them. Reward yourself for making progress. And perhaps most importantly, be kind to yourself. Self criticism creates more stress, while self compassion makes it easier to start again. Across Tim Urban's TED Talk, Aristotle's philosophy, the Bhagavad Gita, Buddhist teachings, neuroscience, and decades of psychological research, one message keeps appearing. Procrastination isn't a personality trait, it isn't laziness. It's a learned habit of choosing short term emotional comfort over long term growth. And the good news is that every habit can be changed. So the next time your brain says, I'll do it tomorrow, remember Tim Urban's instant gratification monkey. Count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just begin. Because sometimes the hardest part isn't doing the work, it's simply starting.